Hey bro, good to see you.
Good to see you, Patrick. How you
I'm
doing?
just so thankful that you came to my event. And for you guys that don't know Jack, Nobody's Special Finance, please make sure to like, share, subscribe. He's one of my bros. I can't believe we're here. This happened. We have been talking about this for months to this event, and especially leading up today to the BRICS panel discussion, which I felt like that could have gone on for probably another 3 hours, honestly. It was fun to see you and Andy and Jeff all get up there, especially that time when you just were like, you threw your paper, you're like, well, that was done. But the reality is people can't get enough of you guys. Tell me, what is going on with BRICS right now that is making people so drawn to it? You know, it's kind of like the question going around now for most men. They're asking them, have you heard of Rome? When's the last time you thought of Rome? And we're all going, yeah, we've thought of Rome, but why is everyone thinking BRICS?
Well, let me give credit to Jeff from Economic Preppers, because he's the one who made me rip my page of notes out, because I had several notes prepared about why I think India is the key to the success, or in my opinion, ultimately the failure of BRICS. And that question comes up, and Jeff goes right for saying, I think India is the key, the I in BRICS. And I was like, well, there goes all my preparations. India has really been the beneficiary of all the conflict in the globe the last few years, the US-China trade war. Apple moving their iPhone production out of China. Where are they moving it to? India. A lot of companies from a lot of different countries see the writing on the wall. They see the wall going back up, if you will, between East and West, and they're moving their production out of China, and they're moving it into India. So India is seeing most of the benefit between the conflict between America and China. And now India is going to be the recipient of all of that capital inflow, of all that business investment that has propelled this unbelievable China growth for the last 30 years. That's going to start happening in India now. And India needs that. Obviously, the per capita GDP in India is still very low, but they're also the most populous country in the world. India's population, they're the biggest country, and they're still growing. China's population is now in decline. So India is the next big thing. India is also benefiting from the sanctions on Russia, because Russia has all this oil, and the Europeans and the West said, we're not going to buy Russian oil anymore. We're going to put caps on the Russian oil. The Indians said, well, we'll buy it. We need oil. We're not involved in this war. We'll take it. So India is benefiting from the sanctions on Russia by getting cheap energy, which they need for their growth. So India is not really incentivized to take a side here.
Please don't say the word again like you did. You made me laugh so hard when you say it.
Oh, the rupees, you mean? Yeah. Am I putting the emphasis on the wrong syllable or something here? You laugh every time I say rupee. India is buying all this oil from Russia, and Russia is sitting here saying, what do I do with all these rupees? Because rupees are not accepted anywhere in the world like the US dollar is, are they? And so Russia's saying, you need to pay us in rubles. And India's saying, we're not going to pay you in rubles. We don't want rubles. We'll pay you with our currency. So you can see how de-dollarizing, it's easier said than done. Because nobody ever says, how am I going to pay you for this oil? We'll take dollars. Everybody will take dollars, because dollars are accepted everywhere. So I'm kind of in the minority when it comes to BRICS. I think they have their work cut out for them. Maybe it's not definitely going to fail, but it's easier said than done, creating a new reserve currency and divorcing yourself from the world reserve currency. It cuts you out of a lot of clubs, and I don't think it's going to be as easy as a lot of other people are explaining it to be.
This brings me up to, like, you know Joe. Joe is a good friend of yours. We both love Joe Brown. If Joe likes to say that it's the money that people will use is the money that they will end up adopting. So the money that people want to use, that they're already using, will be the money that people will use in the future. What do you think of Bitcoin in this perspective? Because we understand that universally we can use Bitcoin as a standard of measurement against all other currencies, against all other asset classes, against commodities. If we value things in Bitcoin, we have a different way to measure and a different way to chart, and that's what we're working on at StockPulse. So I guess my question to you is, you've been at all these conferences and you see the conversations keep coming up about Bitcoin, digital currencies. We had a really great slam dunk panel on how Bitcoin is very different than these gold-backed asset currencies that they're trying to do. What do you think is happening now?
So it's interesting you bring up Bitcoin in the context of the world reserve currency, because Ray Dalio he's written a book about this. You've probably seen the ads for his book on YouTube. He's studied the transition of the last few hundred years. Every time the world reserve currency has changed, there's been a few common denominators. You have, number one, the monetary debasement of the existing reserve currency. Check. We've got that with what's been done to the dollar. You've got the country that takes over the reserve currency has a global trade empire. They have a hard money backed by gold or silver. And they also have a blue water navy capable of projecting power outside their own borders to enforce that global trade empire. And usually there's a conflict involved with that passing of the torch of world reserve currency, usually big naval battles, big wars. And we are heading towards another war and a big naval conflict in the South China Sea right now. Hopefully we're able to avoid it, but it really looks like that's the course that we're on. So we do have a lot of the criteria met to lose the world reserve currency right now in the States, but there is nothing in the world that checks all the boxes to assume the throne. Even if China is able to dethrone the dollar as the reserve currency, they won't. The yuan will not be the world reserve currency because China will never back their currency with gold. If you back your currency with gold, you're giving away your ability to loot your population, to steal from your people via inflation. And people like the Chinese Communist Party, these are not the kind of people who give away their power willingly. So there's nobody that is in a position to assume the role of the new reserve currency. But we do have this new thing called Bitcoin. Bitcoin could very easily develop a global trade empire. It could be accepted anywhere. It's permissionless. And Bitcoin doesn't need a navy, does it?
Nope.
So this is uncharted territory here. I'm not saying Bitcoin will be the world reserve currency, but we do see countries adopting it slowly. We do see, we're probably going to see more banks and central banks starting to hold it as a reserve. So Bitcoin is trending in that direction. It's a long way off from assuming status as world reserve currency, but it checks the box. You've got enforced scarcity. It's not gold backed, but you could argue the scarcity of only ever being 21 million is just as strong as being gold backed because it's limited quantity.
The huge distributed network. Right now we're sitting at over 450 exahashes. That's huge. It's over 20 times growth in the last 7 years.
So I could very easily see a situation like the rupee situation. I got you again. Don't laugh, Patrick.
It's because when you say like, okay, look it, we're just gonna go like hand in our rupees, like the idea.
The petrol rupee?
It feels like something like from Aladdin, where you like show up with all this like extra bread and like ruby gems, and you're like, please take this. I would like a car, and the guy's like, what do you want me to do with all your rubies? Like, I don't even want that. It doesn't matter if it's valuable to you. It has to be valuable to other people because otherwise you can't trade with it. You're sitting on a bunch of stuff that no one wants.
So Russia and India could very easily settle this rupee versus ruble argument and say, we'll just trade our oil in Bitcoin. Because that's something that they'll both be able to turn around and use to buy whatever else they need to buy without worrying about Forex markets and everything else. So I could see Bitcoin slowly starting to exert dominance in international trade because it settles a lot of those disputes.
Well, I know he may be nobody special to you guys, but he's somebody special to me. Thanks, Jack. I love you, man.
Anytime. Thanks, Patrick.